So as I have discussed, we have three methods of design. First one I am writing it here, that is working stress method, right? We have our ultimate load method, or I am going to call it as load factor method, both are same. And we have our limit state method of design. I'm not going to make a comparison actually. You will understand what is the difference between them. I'm not going to give a point by point comparison. I'm not going for that. To compare them or to understand them properly, I'm going to consider one material. Suppose I am considering this material. Okay, this is a pen actually. Consider it as a ductile material. And I am going to give a tensile stress here. And I am going to draw the stress strain curve of this material. See, if I apply the tensile strength in our universal testing machine, you are maybe already knowing about this. The testing by using a universal test machine. You might have studied about the mild steel bars, right? Okay, I am considering a mild steel bar here. We know how the mild steel bar will behave under axial tension, under tensile loads. So I am going to draw the stress strain curve for mild steel bar here. I am going to take mild steel bar for the understanding of these methods. For understanding these methods, I am not considering our reinforcement cement concrete. I am considering a material. This is a mild steel bar for making you understand the difference between these methods, right? So I am going to consider this mild steel bar. If I plot the stress strain curve, I will be getting something like this. This will be the stress strain curve of this mild steel bar. You know what is this point? The point up to which the stress is proportional to strain is called, yes, it is called proportionality limit. We are having our elastic limit is there. I am going to consider it as B, and we will be having an upper yield point will be there. That is, I am going to consider as UYP, or we can consider it as Y1, and we will be having one lower yield point. This is called plastic region. And we will be having our ultimate load point will be there. That will give you the maximum stress value, and this will be our breaking point. Strain here is taken in the x-axis and stress here is taken in the y-axis. So this is actually our stress strain curve of our mild steel under tension. So in working stress method, what I am going to do is, suppose this material has to carry 1000 Newton. I am telling that this material has to carry 1000 Newton. The load to be carried here, I am taking it as 1000 Newton. The load to be carried here is around 1000 Newton. As I told you, the purpose of design is to fix the cross-sectional area required to carry certain amount of loads. The load here to be carried is 1000 Newton, and I want to fix the cross sections. I want to find the cross-sectional area required to carry this 1000 Newton by working stress method, by ultimate load method, and by limit state method of design. See, we know this elastic point. This is our elastic point. So this is our proportionality limit. This is our elastic point, upper yield point, lower yield point, plastic region, ultimate load point, and breaking point. So here in working stress method, what I am going to do is, I am going to consider a stress value. So you can find the stress value for various point. Now for various point in this graph, you can find the stress values corresponding to that. Right now, I am going to consider one stress value which is within the linear elastic portion. I am going to consider a stress value which is within the linear elastic portion. Or I am going to suppose that the stress value here I am going to get is 20 Newton per mm square, which is within the elastic limit, So I am going to consider the stress here is 20 Newton per mm square. See, when we talk about the mild steel bar, these are the stress values. These are the various stress values. What is the maximum stress this mild steel can carry? Can anyone tell me what is the maximum stress which the mild steel bar can carry? So I am going to give a brief comparison between this working stress method or ultimate load method and limit state method. I am not going to give you, as I told you, I am not going to give you that point by point comparison. I am trying to explain this in a simple manner, right? As I told you, I am going to consider one material here. I can choose any of this material. For understanding purpose, we are explaining now. So for that purpose, I am going to consider this material. This is a marker actually, but imagine this as a mild steel bar. This is a mild steel bar. From now onwards, for some time, this is a mild steel bar. So we already know how this mild steel bar behave under tensile load. right now. So you might have studied it in the strength of materials. Otherwise, I will explain it here. The behavior of mild steel bar under axial tensile force will be somewhat like this. If I plot the stress strain curve of mild steel bar, in the y-axis I will be taking the stress value, in the x-axis I will be considering the strain values, and you will be getting a graph like this. You will be getting a graph like this. It will be going like this, and you will be having a straight portion, and it will be going like this. And this is the origin. And from the origin, for a certain length, the stress strain relationship it will be linear or proportional. Stress will be proportional to strain, which is called proportionality limit. And to a certain length beyond this, the relation between stress and strain will be elastic. When we unload the structure, when we unload the mild steel bar, the deformation which occurred during loading will be vanishing right now, or due to unloading this will follow the same path and it will reach the origin, right? That point is called elastic limit. This is a proportionality limit, this is our elastic limit, and we have our upper yield point. I am going to consider it as y1 where yielding starts, and this is our lower yield point. I am going to consider it as y2. This is plastic region, or it is also called yield plate, and this is our ultimate point, and this is our breaking point, right? The breaking point means the point where the steel fails. Right now, breaking point is a stress value, ultimate load point is there, y1 is there, y2 is there, this upper yield point, lower yield point, the elastic limit is there, and our proportionality limit is there. In limited method, now see, suppose I need this mild steel bar to carry a load of around 1000 Newton. I am going to design this steel bar. Design means I want to fix the cross section. I want to choose the cross section of this material. I don't know how much cross section of this mild steel bar is required to carry this 1000 Newton by working stress method. I am going to choose working stress method to fix the cross section. I need to carry a load of around 1000 Newton. See, in working stress method, see, these are our stress values. Correct? Now, proportional limit, there is a corresponding stress. Yield limit, there is a corresponding stress. Upper yield point, a stress is there. Ultimate point, a stress value is there. Breaking point, a stress value is there. Tell me, which is the maximum stress value, or what is the maximum stress value the material can carry? Is it proportional limit? Is it elastic limit? Is it yield limit? Is it the ultimate point? Is it breaking point? What is the maximum stress value this material can carry? Yes, ultimate point or ultimate stress point is actually this will represent one stress value here. This is the maximum stress which can carry the material can carry right now. But in working stress method, we are going to consider a stress value. We will not consider this maximum stress which can be carried by the material. In working stress method, what I am going to do is I am going to take a stress value within this elastic limit. Within the elastic limit, I am going to consider a stress value. For example, I am going to consider, suppose this stress value is 20 Newton per mm square, which is within the elastic limit of the material. I am going to permit a certain stress value. Suppose I am considering that the ultimate load point may be around, I am considering the ultimate stress which can carry, which the material can carry, I am going to consider as 50 Newton per mm square. I know this material can carry 50 Newton per mm square, but I am not going to consider that stress value for the design. I am going to consider a stress value which is within the perimeter, which is within the elastic limit. Suppose the stress value here, I am going to consider it as 20 Newton per mm square. We know the basic idea of design. We need to fix the cross section for this material. If I know the load value, if I know the permissible stress value, how to find the area? How to find the area? If we know stress and load, how to find the area? We know that stress is equal to load divided by area. From this, area is equal to load into stress. Load here is 1000, right now. Sorry, I think I made a mistake. Yes, area here is equal to load divided by stress. Load here is 1000 divided by 20. You will be getting it around 50 mm square. That means, as per working stress method, for this mild steel bar to carry this 1000 Newton load, I need a cross section of around 50 mm square. Getting my point? As per working stress method, I will allow a stress value of 20 Newton per mm square for design, which is within the elastic limit. And if I calculate the area of cross section, I will be getting it around 50 mm square, which means that as per working stress method, suppose this is a cross sectional area I obtained by working stress method. For this mild steel bar, to carry this 1000 Newton, the area of cross section required is 50 mm square for as per our working stress method. Keep it with you. Just understand that. Similarly, for our ultimate load method, what I am going to do in ultimate load method? See, in ultimate load method, in ultimate load method, if I consider the same material and if I consider the same stress strain curve, I am considering the same material, so stress strain curve will also be same. So this is our elastic limit, this is our proportional limit, elastic limit, upper yield point, lower yield point, plastic region, ultimate load, and our breaking point. I need to carry the same load here, that is 1000 Newton. I need to carry the same load there, that is 1000 Newton, and I need to consider the stress value. In ultimate load point, I am not going to consider the stress value within the elastic limit or anywhere on this curve. I am going to consider the maximum stress which the material can carry. I am going to consider, I have taken it as 50 Newton per mm square here, as we are using the same material. So stress value here is 50 Newton per mm square. In ultimate load method, I am going to consider the maximum stress the material can carry for the design. So the stress value here will be 50 Newton per mm square. I know the load value, I know the stress, permissible stress. Can I find the area of cross section required? Area of cross section required will be equal to 1000 load divided by stress divided by 50, which will be equal to 20 mm square. Right? So as per ultimate load method, the area of cross section required for this mild steel bar to carry this load is around 20 Newton per mm square. Compare these two. I am going to compare these two. Suppose this is the mild steel bar of cross section area 50 mm square, and this is, again, I think you can see it here, right? Yes, this is a mild steel bar. Area of cross section is 20 mm square. I will be getting by using our ultimate load method. That is actually the main difference between working stress method and ultimate load method. In working stress method, see, the material can carry a maximum of ultimate point, we can carry a maximum of 50 Newton per mm square, can carry a stress of 50 Newton per mm square. But for the design, am I using the entire strength of the material? Answer me please. As per working stress method, am I using the entire strength of the material? No, we are not using. We are using a strength value which is well below our elastic point. We can, the stress which can carry, the material can carry is around 50. I am using only 20 Newton per mm square. That's the reason why the cross section area required as per working stress method is more. When we are not using the entire strength of the material, which will give us a thick structures, thick members like this, or we can say the structure is actually uneconomical. That was one of the main drawback in our working stress method. The materials or the components or the components I designed or we designed by using a working stress method was uneconomical. Why? Because we were not using the entire strength of the material. So as we are considering a stress value within the linear elastic limit, that's the reason why I told you in the previous topic, we are calling working stress method as linear elastic method also. This is the reason why, because we are considering a stress value within the linear elastic limit. Are you getting it right now? So this is actually, we will be getting a thick members which will lead to a uneconomical design. But as the cross sectional area is more, will it be safe or unsafe? Tell me this. The cross sectional area is required is more than required. So is it safe or unsafe? It will be safe. So the section will be safe, but it will be uneconomical. So this is advantage, this is the disadvantage. So in working stress method, the cross section I will be getting is uneconomical, but it is a safe structure. So this is the material I obtained by using our working stress method. Then talking about the mild steel bar, I obtained by using our ultimate load method. We have used the entire stress value Tell me, is it safe or unsafe? I'm using the entire strength of this material. Is it safe or unsafe? Tell me this. When we talk about the ultimate load method, yes, exactly, it is unsafe. See, we are getting slender or thin members. This is the same material, but when I consider the ultimate strength or the exact strength of the material, all the strength of the material, the cross section required will be very, very less for carrying this load, which is actually not safe. Slender means thin materials. So this is actually this will be slender members are actually leads to buckling of the members. So buckling of members are possible. Buckling of the member is possible there in slender members, right? Thin members or slender members, right now. So it is unsafe. In working stress method, it was safe, but for our ultimate load method, the member which I am going to get there is unsafe. Talk about the economy. Think about the economy of the members. Which one is economical? Will I get an economical member here? Will I get economical member here? This was the material I obtained by using our working stress method. This is the material I obtained using ultimate load method. Is it economical or uneconomical? It is economical, right now. So material I obtained here is economical. So think about this. Why working stress method was replaced by ultimate load method? Why? Because the stress value, the material I was obtaining here in under working stress method was uneconomical, but it was safe. Here safety was the criteria in working stress method, and coming to our ultimate load method, here economy was the criteria, but safety was compromised. Here economic was the criteria, but safety was compromised in ultimate load method. Combining the advantages of these two methods, that is working stress method and ultimate load method, we have introduced our third method, or the recently developed method of design, or most popularly used method of design, that is limit state method of design, where if I use the same material, or if I consider the same material, that is our mild steel bar, and if I consider the stress strain curve like this, and consider the strain curve like this, suppose the area of cross section, the maximum stress is 50 Newton per mm square, and the stress value considered there is 20 Newton per mm square. And in limit state method of design, I am not going to choose 20 Newton per mm square, I am not going to choose 50 Newton per mm square. I will consider a stress value in between these two values. Suppose it is around 30 Newton per mm square. Suppose it is around 30 Newton per mm square. In limit state method, I will be taking a stress value which is between this ultimate stress value and our linear elastic value. I am taking a stress value in between these two. Then I am taking it around 30 Newton per mm square. The mild steel bar has to take a load of same load, that is 1000 Newton. Stress value here taken is around 30 Newton per mm square. What is the area required here? Area required here will be equal to 1000 divided by 30, which is equal to what's the answer? We will be getting 33.33 Newton per. Sorry, we will be getting an area of cross section as 33.33 mm square. That is the area of cross section which I will be getting by using our limit state method is around 33 Newton per mm square, which will be safe as well as economical. Right now, when we use 20 Newton per mm square, the section was uneconomical, but it was safe. When I use 50, it was unsafe and economical. When I use a stress value in between, I will be getting a safe and economical structure. If you want further comparison, so you can think like this. Suppose all the three are our mild steel bar, same material to carry the same load, that is 1000 Newton. This is the cross section I will be getting by working stress method. This is the cross section I will be getting by using ultimate load method. It was safe but uneconomical. It was unsafe but economical. This was obtained by our limit state method of design, which is both safe and economical. In economic wise, it is safe in economy wise, it is economical, and when we talk about the safety, it is safe also. Ultimate load method, working stress method, limit state method of design. It is safe, uneconomical, unsafe, economical, this is both safe and economical. So that's actually the for understanding you can use this concept. You can understand like this by using limit state method. When we compare ultimate working stress method and ultimate load method, and when we talk about the limit state method of design, the material it will be getting by using limit state method of design, or the structure, the cross section will be getting by using limit state method of design, will be both safe and economical. That is the main purpose of design. Fixing the cross section of the material by keeping safety and economy into consideration. As a designer, when you call yourself a good designer, you can call yourself a good designer when you can design a structure which is both safe and economical. Limit state method is going to help you, right? Which will give a section which is both safe and economical. So this is the overall idea of limit state method. Right now, in working stress method, we will be considering a stress value. We will permit a stress value which is within the permissible limit, linear elastic limit. That's the reason why we are calling it as linear elastic method. In ultimate load method, we will be using the entire strength of the member. I will be getting slender members or thin members, which is unsafe, but it is economical. In limit state method, the structure, the member which I will be getting by using limit state method will be both safe and economical. I hope it's clear. Is it clear? So the basic idea of limit state method, working stress method, and our ultimate load method, right? I think it's clear, right? Fires. See, don't think much about this. See, even this 20, 30, 50, I have taken from some random values. 30 is actually lying between 20 and 50. I have taken one value, that's it. Just to explain what is limit state method. Just to explain that the member which I will be getting by using limit state method is safe and economical. That's the reason why I have taken 30. You can take 40 also, no issues. See, I'll discuss all those things. We are going to that. I wanted to make you understand that limit state method, the structure which I'll be getting by using limit state method is safe and economical. That's what I want to say. Right? We are moving further. Right now. So shall we move further? So as I told you, we will be mainly focusing on limit state method, which is the most commonly used method for the design of reinforcement concrete structures. But before getting into the design and all, we should understand, or we should have a proper knowledge about the basics, or what is limit state, or what is this limit state method. So we have to understand what is this method now. But after that only we'll start designing the structures based on this limit state method of design. So understanding limit state method of design is actually very important. See, you can give the heading a limit state method fundamentals, where we will be discussing the basics or the fundamentals required for the proper understanding of our limit state method of design, right? So what is this limit state method of design? I'll start with that. Limit state method of design, or LSM, is actually an ideal method of design, which takes both safety and serviceability. I will explain them. Which takes both safety and serviceability into consideration. Or it is the method which considers safety and serviceability of the structure into consideration. You have to underline these two sentences, these two words, that is safety and serviceability. Remember this. We will understand these terms by explaining this. See, we are explaining limit state method of design, right? What is this limit state? Anyone? We are discussing limit state method, but I will start with this. What is this limit state? Setting some limits to material and loads. It is a state that is, I am reading your statements. Yes, very good, very good. See, to understand this, I am not interested in giving you the definitions. By definitions and all, you will not understand the things properly. Suppose, if I want to construct, so suppose I am taking a chair here. I'm taking a chair here. This is a chair. Sorry for this bad figure. This is a chair. Suppose this is a chair. We have a chair like this. We have a chair like this. Fine. So when we discuss about this chair, how many persons can sit on this chair at a time? How many persons can sit on this chair at a time? Yes, around one person. I can count again. This is actually one person can sit on this chair at a time, right? But when suppose two more persons are joining, suppose weight of each person is 100 kilonewton or 100 kilogram. Suppose two more persons are sitting on this chair. Maybe one person can sit here. Suppose one more person is coming. Will the chair take it? Chair will take that load also, right now. Suppose three persons are sitting on this chair. Will it carry? Maybe it will carry the load. Suppose it can carry around 5 persons load, right? This chair here can carry around 5 persons load, or that means 5 persons can sit on this chair at a time. That's the meaning of it, right? If 6th person is coming on this chair, what will happen? The maximum load the chair can carry or chair can accept is 5 persons load. If a 6th person is sitting on that chair, what is going to happen? The chair will fail or the chair will collapse. Chair will collapse. So chair will break. Right now, the chair will not satisfy its designed purpose. So that means we cannot allow the load more than 5 persons. Generally, we will be giving a load of 1 person, but we cannot, in no case, we can allow a 6th person's load on this chair, which means that we are limiting the load which can be applied on this chair. Can I say like this? What did I say? We have 1 person, the 1 person can sit on this chair at a time, that is usual thing, but the chair is designed for around 5 persons. That when a 6th person is coming on the chair is going to fail or chair is going to collapse. So we are limiting the load which can be allowed in this chair is to 6 persons. We will allow maximum of 5 persons load. We will allow maximum of 5 persons load, or we will limit, not 6 person, we will limit the load which can be allowed on this chair to 5 persons load. That means we are limiting the loads which can be acted in this chair. We are limiting something. Keep this thing in your mind, right? Keep this thing in your mind. Suppose, keep this in your mind. I'll come to that. Suppose the same chair, when one person sat on this chair, when I sit on this chair, I'll feel some vibration in this chair. Suppose I have a chair here, same chair. I'm trying to sit on that chair, but there is a vibration in that chair. Will I prefer to sit on that chair? Or if you people are sitting on that chair, will you prefer to sit on that chair if it is shaking or if it is vibrating? Will you prefer to sit on that chair? Tell me. No, you will not choose or you will not prefer to sit on that chair. Similarly, here, if I am considering, suppose there is no one leg is not there for this chair. Will you prefer to sit on this chair? No, right? Why? Because we cannot use that. We cannot use that chair, or we will feel fear to use that chair. Correct or not? Yes. Which means structure, this chair will fail to serve its purpose. The chair will fail to serve its purpose, or we can say the chair is not serviceable. You are getting that concept? You are understanding the term? The chair is not serviceable. When you sit on that chair, due to some excessive deflection or excessive vibration, if you are not able to sit on that chair is failing, or chair has failed to satisfy its intended purpose, or it is not serving its purpose. It is not serviceable. That's the meaning of this serviceability. The structure we designed must be serviceable. So chair here is not serviceable. Keep these two things in your mind. Coming back to Coming back to our structure. Coming back to this structure. See, when we talk about a beam, suppose I can see one beam here over my head. Similarly, you people can also see one beam. Maybe somewhere you can see one beam now. But in a beam, in a room, if you are sitting in a room under a beam, and if you are seeing excessive deflections or excessive deformations, or if so many cracks are there in that beam, will you prefer to sit under that beam? Tell me. Will you prefer to sit under that beam if there is excessive cracks are there or excessive deflection is there? You can see that thing in the beam. Will you prefer to sit under that beam? No. You will not prefer to sit under that beam. Why? Why? Because you can see the cracks there in that beam. You can see the deflection in that beam. So our IS code says that, or IS code is saying that, or during the construction of the building, construction of the structures, these cracks in the beam, cracks we cannot just completely avoid, cracks are possible in the structure. The cracks, the vibrations, the deflections, all these things we have to limit to a certain value so that the user must not see that. Getting my point? The deflection, if I'm taking the chair example, when I sit on the chair, there will be some vibrations, there will be some deflections will be there. But that deflections must be within some permissible limits. Which means we have to limit the deflections, we have to limit that deformations, we have to limit that vibrations to a certain limit. So that's the meaning of our limit state. We are limiting these things. We are limiting these things to get a safe and serviceable structure. If the deflection in this beam is within the permissible limit, or if the user cannot notice that, the structure will serve its purpose. Then we can call it as a serviceable structure. Then we call that structure is serviceable, or when we can say that structure is serviceable. If the deflection in this beam is more, it will fail to serve its purpose. We will call it as, we cannot call that structure is serviceable. If it can carry 5 persons load, the structure is safe. When a 6th person is coming, structure will become unsafe. Right now, so this is actually for the safe and economical, for safe and serviceable structure, we are limiting some things. We will limit the load which is going to be acting in the structure. We will limit the deflections, deformations, vibrations, etc. in the structure within some certain limit. So that's the meaning of our limit state. So the limit state is actually explained. We can say like this: it is the acceptable limit. One second. It is the acceptable limit for safety and serviceability under loads. It is acceptable limit of safety and serviceability under loads before failure occurs. Before failure occurs. See, this limit state is defined under 2 headings. First one is limit state of collapse. Limit state of collapse. And second thing is limit state of serviceability. Limit state of collapse and limit state of serviceability. We will be discussing this limit state under 2 headings. First one is limit state of collapse and second one is limit state of serviceability. We have discussed about limit state of collapse. What is limit state of collapse? That is the acceptable limit for safety. See, think about the example of chair. See how many persons load the chair can carry? Chair can carry over around 5 persons load. If a 6 persons load is coming on the chair, then structure will fail. So what is the limit state of collapse there? 5 persons load. Right now, so if there will be, I told you about deflections and deformations. These deflections, deformations must be within some permissible limit, or we can say we are limiting those values. When we think about the structure, when we talk about the actual structure, the limit state of collapse deals with flexure, that is bending, deals with shear, deals with our torsion, deals with compression, etc. In reality, when we talk about our limit state of serviceability, when we talk about limit state of serviceability, it deals with vibrations in the structure. These vibrations must be within some certain limits, and deflections in the structure, deflections in various parts of the structure. These deflections must be within some certain limits. We have to limit the vibrations, we have to limit the deflections, and we have to limit the cracks in the structure. So that only then we can call the structure as serviceable. So some of you were asking me about the overall view of the syllabus. By understanding this, if you understand this, this is actually the overall idea of the syllabus. See, we will start with limit state of collapse or limit state method of collapse. The chapter number 1 will be flexure. We will learn how to design limit state method of collapse shear, how to design for shear. Under this, we will be discussing about, you can write it, we will be discussing about singly reinforced beams. I am going to denote it as SRB, that is singly reinforced beams. And we will learn how to design doubly reinforced beams, and we will learn how to design flanged beams. And chapter number 2 will be, or we will be discussing the same here also, that is limit state of collapse shear, limit state of collapse torsion. So these three things actually coming in beams. No? So our first chapter will be design of beams, where we will discuss about limit state method of collapse flexure, where we will learn how to design singly reinforced beams. We will learn how to design doubly reinforced beams. We will learn how to design flanged beams. Okay, we will discuss all those things, and we will learn how to design for shear. We will learn how to design for torsion. And the chapter number 2 will be limit state of collapse compression. Limit state of collapse compression. Limit state method of collapse compression. That will be chapter number 2. Tell me, what are the members which is carrying compressive force in a structure? When we talk about the reinforced concrete structure, what are the members which is primarily subjected to compression? Primary force is compression. What are the structures which are primarily subjected to compression? Exactly, columns, footings, etc. The compression members in a structure is our columns. First one is columns, and second one is footing. So we'll be learning under this heading limit state of collapse, limit state method of collapse compression. We will learn how to design columns. We will learn how to design footings as per limit state method of design. Then our chapter number 3 will be in between. If we need, we can include there. Design of slabs will be there. Design of slabs will be there. I will discuss it separately. Design of slabs, and I will discuss this limit state of serviceability along with the design of slabs. Okay, or I can consider it as a separate chapter. No need, we can decide it here. We can discuss it there itself, right? Then I am just removing this. If you want, you can consider it as a chapter number 4. In chapter number 5, I will discuss about bond and anchorage length. We will discuss about bond and anchorage length. And in the 6th chapter, we will be discussing about one of the most important topic in design of reinforced concrete structures. We will be discussing about pre-stressed concrete. The basic concept of pre-stressed concrete. We will discuss the basic concept of pre-stressed concrete. So this is actually the overview of the syllabus, the design of reinforced concrete structures. We will learn about limit state method of collapse, flexure, shear, torsion. Under flexure, under the heading limit state method of collapse flexure, we will learn how to design singly reinforced beam, doubly reinforced beam, flanged beams, and we will learn how to design limit state design for shear as per limit state method of collapse shear. Then as per limit state method of shear limit state method of collapse torsion, how to design for torsion. Then limit state method of collapse compression, we will learn how to design for columns and footings. Then we will be learning how to design of slabs. See, design of slabs, we will not learn the entire design process there. For GATE exam, we need only the basic things, like what are the code recommendations or caudal recommendations when we talk about the design of slabs. Only those kind of things are required here under this heading design of slabs. And limit state of serviceability is there, where we will be discussing about the permissible values of vibration, cracks, deflections, etc. And coming to bond and anchorage length, we will discuss that. Then we will be discussing about pre-stressed concrete, which is actually a different concept. When we talk about reinforcement concrete, the concept of pre-stressed concrete or analysis of pre-stressed concrete is actually a bit different. So these are the basic. This is actually your syllabus of reinforcement concrete structures. So these are the things which is there in the syllabus. Okay.